Greetings, everybody. I am Lobo, and welcome to Luna. This is episode 193 of my Minecraft survival series, and today we are going to be returning to Enchantry Island because we are nowhere near done with this place yet. Last episode, we began work on the Mage Village over here at the lower part of Enchantry Island. We've got some of the major structures built in. We got the path built in, but that's pretty much all we've done so far. So there's still a lot more work to be done here, and we're going to work on this place a little bit more in this episode. But before we get around to that, there is something else I want to do, kind of thinking about the future, thinking about the other stuff we're going to be doing here on Enchantry Island, right? And one of the things I know we need to do is we need to start deepening the waters surrounding the entire island, because this land being one block under sea level, that's not going to work for me. We can't have Enchantry Island separated from every other landmass by a puddle, you know? This needs to be a deep body of water. So that is our first order of business here. Ooh, I may have discovered something here, guys. So I was trying to figure out how we're going to film this time lapse, right? Because I didn't want to do it like last time. Last time we filmed an underwater excavation time lapse. We had Dee kind of perched up somewhere looking down into the water. He didn't have the conduit effect, so it looks something like this, which obviously isn't great for video, okay? So I was thinking, well, how can we put him somewhere where he can keep the conduit effect? And, you know, I came around to this little trap door right here kind of keeps him submerged enough in the water that he has a conduit effect. And yeah, that could potentially work, but what's even better is if I sneak up to the edge here and then stand up. For some reason, the water just turns crystal clear, and this is going to be great for filming this. I am super excited to be able to film this time lapse like this. That is going to be great. Now, the only thing I'm worried about is like if mobs kind of wander off and attack Dee while he's in the water, but then again, we do have the conduit here. So hopefully that kind of wards off any mobs or takes care of them before they take care of Dee, you know? But at this point, I think we're just about ready to go. So let's go ahead and call Dee on over here, put on a little bit of music, start deepening these waters, and make Enchantry Island a little bit more of an island. Welcome back, everybody. Ow. Ow, that was nearly a twisted ankle. Ow. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. We've got some of this water deepened over here. It's not pretty, though. It's not pretty. It's very flat, as you can see. That will change in the future, but right now we need it to be flat because we're using this kelp to kind of convert all those flowing water sources underneath to actual water sources, flowing water to water sources, right? You get what I'm saying. You get what I'm saying. But as you can see, we've got a pretty good amount of this underwater area carved out surrounding Enchantry Island. And that's going to allow us to get some beaches in here and have them go down and actually touch the seafloor eventually. But again, I want all the water to be source blocks before we do that. That way we don't have any weird issues when we start building stuff in there. We don't have any de-waterlogged blocks where there should be waterlogged blocks. I mean, you get what I'm saying, right? But we're not working on any of that stuff today. Today we're going to be working on the Mage Village. But as far as resources we collected, we've extended our mass of unorganized chests to about here. This last column is still empty, but we're gradually expanding our mass of unorganized chests, collecting tons and tons of resources, right? Now, before I forget, let me go ahead and put away this fortune pick, get my last silk touch pick out of here. And we should be just about good to go. Oh, and incidental resources. I almost forgot. So we've been stocking the incidental resources off to the side here. That way we can kind of keep them organized, right? And we got about 5 stacks of iron from that, nearly 5 stacks of iron, which is great. We can put that towards our supply for the upcoming storage project. And the reason why I love incidental resources is that we weren't even out to get these. These just happened to fall into our possession as we were doing other stuff. That's about as efficient as you can get. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about today's project. As I said, we're going to be continuing work on the Mage Village over here, and we did a lot of our heavy lifting as far as this village goes in the last episode. We got all of our major structures in, we did a lot of our planning then, and there's a reason for that. It's because I knew we were going to be carving out all this land surrounding Enchantry Island. I just wanted to make sure we had enough time to do everything that needed to get done, right? So, basically, what is on the agenda for today is that we're going to be constructing at least one more major structure. We have a few minor structures I want to get in. And the first thing we're going to be working on, though, is this center part of the village where I said in the last episode that this was going to be kind of like a little farm area. This is going to be where the enchanters get their food. So first things first, I need to figure out exactly how these guys are going to get down here. So there we go. Little stair technology. That's what stairs are for. We got that covered. Another thing I want to do is start adding a bit more color to this place because everything is very brown so far. And there's a reason for that, and I like that for all the actual structures. But I'm thinking some warped over here, some warp blocks, might help with kind of livening up the landscape a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and start focusing on getting some of those kind of just like randomly placed around throughout the farm area. And I mean, the crops that we plant around here too are also going to help bring a lot more color into this area. And so will the final landscaping. That's going to be like the main thing we do to kind of tie in all these areas and make sure everything works. Look at this. The Enderman griefing that's probably the biggest issue with this area is that we don't have a whole lot of light. So the Enderman just tear this place apart. It's very annoying. And we could probably also use these posts to section off different areas of this farm. Like I don't want different sections where different crops are planted. I want this farm area to look more haphazard. Like if we're being honest here, this farm is mostly for looks and lore. We're not actually going to be using it, right? So I'm thinking we could make the sections and then just not really stick to them. Then we can go ahead and start getting some paths in here, some rough paths. Keep in mind, we're technically doing landscaping right now, but this landscaping is going to be a rough landscaping because if you guys have been around for a while and watched the series, you kind of know like how I work, right? You know that I typically reserve landscaping for last because that's something I like to do to kind of tie a build into its surroundings, just kind of make sure the build and the land kind of work together and nothing looks too awkward. So we will come in here a bit later and re-landscape. Like, we don't want stuff like this where the posts are sitting on top of grass. Like that kind of stuff, just not going to work. And we might fix that today. But I mean, regardless of what we do today with this farm, there will be more landscaping done here just to try to tie everything in later on. That being said, the more we get done today, the less I have to do later, right? The more we get figured out today, the less I have to get figured out later. So it could be worth it to us to try to maybe do a little bit more than I was initially planning with this area. Perhaps? In that last clip I said today. Now that's something I'm trying to stop doing because people kind of mistake what I mean by that. When I say today, I'm referring to the day that you guys are watching this episode. I'm not just going around building everything in one of these videos in a day, because I know some of you guys have been asking for me to upload more than one episode a week in this series, and each episode I do in this series typically takes about a week to do. That's how long it takes me to get an amount of progress I'm happy with showing you guys, okay? So yeah, I just wanted to, I know most of you guys are aware of that, but some aren't, so I just wanted to clarify. I'm trying to stop saying today. I really am. Now, up here is basically where we're going to be planting the majority of our food crops, but I'm thinking we also need to do something with this area headed down here as well. And, the shadow kind of makes me think we should do something with mushrooms, right? Plant some mushrooms down here. But we'll talk about my ideas for that in a little bit. Right now, though, we do need to make a way down here. Now we're just going to keep the path leading down to this area consistent with our other paths, which means it's going to look pretty much the same as the road going through the Enchantry Village. It's also going to look the same as the docks, right? The only question is how wide or how narrow do we want it? Thinking probably kind of narrow, maybe like this. I think something like this would probably be good. Yeah, it's going to be messy too. It's going to be very messy. The key word is rough. So, I mean, this is roughly what I want these stairs to be, but I'm going to come back and work on them a little bit more a little bit later. But, you know, I'm not meant to do this right now. I wanted to work on the farm before I got to this. I get ahead of myself sometimes. You know how it is. Now, as far as the farm goes, in addition to our crops and stuff like that, what I want to add to this is the raised point of interest at some point. I mean, we're going to have a structure kind of right here, but that's kind of on the outside. I want something to kind of break up the farmland itself, and I'm thinking a tree might be what I want to do for that. So maybe up here near the top, potentially, we could plant a tree like right in the middle here, like do one of our custom jungle trees, kind of like the one we did right over there, kind of like that same style. I am going to need to get some more jungle tree supplies, some wood and some leaves. Actually, hold on, maybe down here would be better. I don't know. I'm going to give it some thought, but I need to collect some supplies. Now, as far as jungle tree making supplies go, I know that my little tree farm over there by the Explorer's Lodge is going to be insufficient in providing the amount of leaves I'm going to need to build up both this tree, a couple other trees that we might make here in this episode, and the trees that we're going to create once we get around to the final landscaping of the island. So I think what we're going to do instead is just head out to one of the jungles that we don't really plan on doing anything with in the near future, and we'll just collect our supplies that way. Now, we already talked about what we plan on doing with the farm area of the Mage Village. I did mention the other structures that are going to go up. I'm going to try to do something with those as well. We have plans, right? We have plans. You have an idea of what I want to do. So at this point, might be a good idea to go ahead and just call Dee on over here, put on some music, and try to get some stuff done. Welcome back, everybody. Okay, I'm in a tree. That could have gone worse. I think that could have gone worse. Okay, but this is a good spot. So we made some progress over here at the Mage Village. We got these little minor structures in that I was telling you about. These are like little supply houses. I tried to add a little bit of color to them, as you probably saw during the time lapse. Just wasn't working for me, so just decided to tone those down a little bit. But instead, for adding color, I decided to add these little planters right here, which we can throw some lilacs in, and these are kind of surrounding those jungle trees that we were talking about. And speaking of jungle trees, we have some planted over here throughout the island. We will be adding more. And in addition to that, we're going to be supplementing those with oak saplings as well, and maybe some other types of trees as well, because you remember how thickly forested this island was, right? We want it to be thickly forested. We want the Mage Village to kind of be hidden, because remember, they like their privacy. But I think we've discussed all this stuff before, but that's kind of the idea. So much of this place is going to end up being hidden, and we're nowhere near done. You know, I feel the need to emphasize that a lot these days, but yeah, we're nowhere near done with this. Oh, you know what? You know what? We didn't even look at the farm, really, did we? So this is the farm. We have all our veggies planted here, and yeah, I mean, I guess that's all there is to that. Now, some of you guys may be wondering why I'm walking around here with hidden light source material. That's mostly because I got tired of having to replace blocks Enderman took. So I was going to put down some sea lanterns and some trapdoors over top of them to prevent Enderman from spawning on this island and slowly dismantling it. But just as quickly as I came up with that decision, I decided to veto it as well. So I'm not going to do that because I do want this island to remain dark. So I think what I'm going to do instead is just make repairs once we're done with everything else on the island. And, you know, after that, I don't anticipate we're going to be spending enough time on this island for Enderman to do any serious damage to it. So I think we should be okay. We should be okay without lighting this place up. Oh, hello, puppy. Hello. Okay, so let's go ahead and just shift focus back to what we were meant to be doing today, which is, first of all, fixing up these stairs that lead down into this lower section. And we'll talk about what we're going to be doing down here in a little while. But first, I want to go ahead and just start getting our path down here cleaned up a little bit. So remember, the word of the day is rough. Like, you know, some of these fence posts, like right here, will connect to stone. It's not going to do that eventually. Like, eventually we'll go in and we'll put like a stair there or a slab or a leaf block and break these connections that shouldn't be there. But right now, you know, keep in mind, rough. And that should do it for the stairs. Suitably messy, kind of fits the island. I like it. So before we start building down here, I just want to go and make sure these are actually traversable, you know, because that's kind of a big deal. Yeah. Okay, so that will lead us up here to the farm area, to this storage house right here where I will need a door and I need some chests and barrels to kind of fill this place up. But yeah, I mean, that's not my main concern right now. What I want to go ahead and do is start working on this build. Now, the build that we're going to be making down here is going to be a little counterintuitive. You see, I want to build something that kind of resembles a greenhouse, but, you know, if you think about the purpose of a greenhouse, it's to let sunlight in to keep warm, right? This area is mostly in shadow, and it doesn't receive as much sunlight as the rest of the island. That's why we're going to be growing mushrooms down here. Those prefer, like, cooler, darker places, right? So I'm thinking this might be a good area for that. You can think of it, instead of a greenhouse, just think of it as like kind of a controlled area, a controlled environment for growing these things. All right, so I think that is probably a pretty good size for our foundation. I almost want it to be a little bit bigger, but I don't know if we can really afford it, because I do want a little bit of space on the outside to be able to grow the large mushrooms as well, right? So yeah, we'll roll with this for now. Actually, I'm kind of rethinking my plans a little bit here, because looking at these, I'm not sure I want these on the back side of the island. Like, I don't think this is really going to work with the aesthetic that we've established for Enchantry Island here. And I suppose I could always do custom mushrooms, but I just don't think that's going to work. I don't think it's going to be worth the effort. So maybe instead what we do is we forget about planting the big mushrooms back here, and we have an area so we can actually like just harvest them, right? Like maybe, like I'm not talking about like a full-blown mushroom farm, because I don't really see myself using a lot of mushroom blocks anytime in the near future. But maybe it would be good to have at least a little bit of area that's somewhat functional, that we can get these just in case we do need them in the future. Right? So maybe what we could do is just have a platform that kind of juts out from the main structure, and that could be where we harvest the large mushrooms. And actually, the large mushrooms are all we need, because if we don't harvest these with Silk Touch, they occasionally do drop these small mushrooms. So that is pretty much how we could go about getting all of them. We don't even have to farm the small mushrooms. If we need any, we just harvest the large mushrooms. And I think we get between 0 and some low number of these per harvest, which is fine. You know, as I said, I don't intend to use tons of these or anything like that, but this does seem like a pretty good way to farm our mushrooms and mushroom blocks and stuff. Now that does kind of mean that the quote unquote greenhouse, or whatever we want to call this thing, is not really going to be functional so much as the platform out here is. And I don't know, I want to do something with this. I have an idea. I have an idea that's at least somewhat related to the theme that we were going for out here. This part of the video has been a mess because I'm all over the place, but ideas are being formulated. You know, it's going to start coming together, I promise. Hopefully, maybe. So because I spontaneously made the decision to make this build at least somewhat functional, and I don't want this space to go to waste, I'm thinking we can at least harvest a block in here that we would seldomly use, that block being mycelium, which obviously is fungi, mushroom related, right? So that makes sense. So here's what I'm thinking we could do. We could kind of expand the footprint of this building, maybe have the stairs go directly into it because we are going to need more room in order to harvest enough mycelium to make a difference, right? And maybe we kind of sink it down, put that stuff in a basement. I don't know. You know what I do know? We got Dee over here. And I think before I talk myself into a corner telling you stuff that I take back, maybe we just put on a little bit of music and just build. Let's just build stuff here. Welcome back, everybody. This is a barrel. Here's a door. Let's use the door. Let's go out. Okay. Welcome back, everybody. We've got the final major structure of Enchantry Island now built. This greenhouse, which, you know, depending on the definition of greenhouse, might not be the right terminology. I don't know. But I'm not going to call this thing completely done at this point, because there are some changes we might make to this thing in the future. Like once 117 drops, I'm thinking it might make sense to replace the stained glass that we use for the walls and the roof up here with tinted glass, just so we can kind of darken it up a little bit, kind of get rid of the natural lighting that's making this room so bright. I mean, you know, we still have a lot of light down here on the floor level. That's mostly because I don't really want mobs in here waiting for me. If I ever, you know, come down here to harvest mycelium, it wouldn't be great to walk in and just be met with a creeper, you know, who goes pow right in my face. But as far as the harvesting of mycelium goes, we can do this pretty quickly. We do have 2 floors which we can harvest from. And as far as how much mycelium that gets us, it's enough to suit my needs. And you got to imagine if we gave this more time, it would be a little bit more mycelium, because this dirt right here would have had time to convert over to mycelium as well. So yeah, I think that should be good. Now, as far as getting our floors back in here, all we got to do is pick up some dirt, just throw it down. And as long as we leave a block of mycelium down here, that'll be enough to kind of jumpstart the whole process all over again. Now, you might have noticed I do have some soul sand and podzol on me. That's because I kind of want to vary up the blocks inside our planters over here. So I'm thinking we might go ahead and plant some soul sand in here just so we can look like we have a little bit of netherwort growing in here as well, you know, because the enchanters might want to brew some potions or something, right? And the podzol is just so we don't have mycelium everywhere, because this is just another block that we can throw down, which, you know, we can plant the mushrooms and whatever on at pretty much any light level. And that makes me a little bit happier. Okay, but keep in mind, you know, the mushroom growing section of this is not actually functional. The functional part of this comes in on the outside platform where we take one of these axes that our Vindicator friends graciously donated to our cause, and I'm going to also need a bit of bone meal as well. But what we'll do to get more mushrooms is we'll just go ahead and plant one of these guys out here, bone meal it up, then take one of these regular axes, non-silk touch axes, and then just go at it and see how many mushrooms we can get. And already this nets us a pretty good bonus. So, you know, we just do this over and over again to get as many mushroom blocks as we need, or however many little tiny mushrooms that we need. So yeah, I mean, I don't anticipate using this a whole lot, but in case we do need it, we got it. You may not rest now. There's monsters under your bed. Ooh, so scary. Ow! So scary. Get it. Stop trying to interrupt my sleep. Stop it. So I was just kind of reviewing the work we've done so far, and overall, I'm kind of liking how this place is coming together. I know I'm going to have to deflatten the treetops because that looks a little bit awkward, but we can handle that when it comes time to do landscaping. Like, we'll have to kind of dress up the cliff faces, we'll have to do the beach, the actual land itself, but I mean, overall, you know, this place is slowly but surely coming together, and I'm actually really liking the way everything started to turn out here. I don't like that, though. Hold on. Ow! Ow. No, I did not like that either. But what I meant I did not like at first was there's a dude. There's a dude over here. And none of this area should be spawnable. Hi. How'd you get here, huh? How did you get here? You want to tell me that? No? Keeping your mouth shut? None of this area should be spawnable, like right here. Because we got buttons right there. We got slabs. We've got... Those are stairs. We've got fence posts. Like, he could spawn down there, but but he couldn't get up here. I have no idea where he came from. It's a mystery. Another mystery, one I'm hoping we can begin to solve, is what happens in this story that seems to be writing itself as we complete more and more of the Enchantry Island. So basically, this is a tale of the Arcanine Order and their conflict with Wolfen's Laboratories down there. Wolfen's Lab seems to have instigated this whole thing by destabilizing the dimensional portals, effectively bringing an end to what this world used to be and bringing us into this current iteration of the world. It's a jumbled mess, really. And that's if this book is to be believed, right? But then the Arcanine Order is just making matters worse. They called upon the Netherworm to destroy Wolfen's Labs, and then that has effectively almost destroyed Luna, brought corruption into Luna, right? So it just doesn't seem like anybody's making good choices. But the story continues. We are on page 8.
The Grey Wolf had a secret weapon. The Builder. The Destroyer. He triumphed over our monster and expedited the decimation, reducing the world we cherished to nothingness. They carried on into their new reality, condemning us to the abyss.
See, now I'm getting dragged into this. And I mean, the Destroyer? Really? The Destroyer? I mean, yes, I may have triumphed over your monster, but it was a monster. And yeah, you better believe it. Not to brag or anything, but I triumphed over that guy. Anyway, that aside, I didn't realize it would expedite the decimation, reducing the world we cherished to nothingness, the world we all once cherished to nothingness. I didn't know that would happen. I had no idea about any of this. I mean, how could I have known? You know, how could I have known that defeating the Netherworm would destroy our world and condemn you to the abyss that was our previous world? That's why they didn't care. They were left there in nothingness, in the abyss. You know, I was thinking that the Arcanine Order might be grateful that I was rebuilding their Enchantry here. Turns out they might be a little angry about the other thing. But we can't stop now. We need to find Watchdog, we need to find Wolfred, and we'll just deal with the consequences when and if they come. But I do think that is going to do it for us today, guys. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, please be sure to hit that little thumbs up button. That would mean a whole lot to me. And if you want to see more, please remember to subscribe. But as always, I just want to thank you guys for hanging out today. I deeply appreciate it. And until next time, I am Lobo, and I will see you guys later.